We are halfway through our trip together. We hope that you have been enjoying the ride, but have you been paying attention? Let's find out now. I have Irma with me, and after 3 questions, she will tell you what is a good project. But first, Peter for the quiz.
Yes, so as Perrine was mentioning, we are going to do a short little quiz. It's going to be only 3 questions, and we will give you about 20 seconds or so to answer. Just to kind of see how awake you have been and to see how things have been going for you. So with that, it should show up on your screen in just a moment. And why don't we get going with the very first question. So the very first question that we have for you today is, which of these sentences does not characterize the Northwest Europe region? Does it have to do with us being a low CO2 emitting region, us having very high GDP? What do you think? And so time is up already, and congratulations to 44% of you that answered correctly. Northwest Europe is certainly not one of the lowest CO2 emitters in Europe, and that is why this is one of the major priorities of our program. We want to be really working on addressing that in the next few years. So let's move on to the next question. Which of these is not a priority in the 2021-2027 Northwest Europe program? Does it have to do with circular economy? Does it have to do with an inclusive society? Does it have to do with climate and environment or better governance? What are we not addressing? And congratulations to 93% of you who got, indeed, the correct result. We are not looking at better governance in this program. At this point, again, we are really focusing on those questions of circular economy, inclusive society, and climate and environment in the next 7 years. Let's go to the last question. Is it mandatory to involve in projects partners from all 4 target groups? So let's see, is it mandatory? Is it only encouraged? Should we be looking for 10 target groups? Or no, it's not recommended. What do you think? And why don't we go to show the correct answer? 82% of you, I am happy to say, are correct. It is encouraged, and it must be in line with the project objectives and planned results, but it is not mandatory, but we encourage it. So thank you very much for the quiz.
So we have Larry, who is in the lead here. All right, but hey, Larry, you might want to pay some more attention because we have another quiz towards the end of the event, so stay with us and you might win a prize. All right, thank you, Peter. So if you're still with us, it means that you are interested in what we have to offer and you might want to know how to be a successful project. So our next stop is what makes a good project. And Irma, who is project officer at the Joint Secretariat of the Northwest Europe Program, will detail this right now. Go ahead, Irma.
Thank you, Perrine. So I'm going to start with my presentation. And I'm going to explain you briefly what makes a good project. So we are having 9 characteristics, and I'm going to start with the first one, which is a good project clearly defines its needs and relevance to the NVUE area. So what does it precisely mean? Well, actually, you have to explain why your project, why it is needed, actually. So you have to explain the challenges and also the opportunities that you would like addressed with your project. But also, it is very, very important to stress your project results. So what kind of change do you want to achieve at the end of your project? Then there is also a very important point that is related to the place-based approach. So put simply, you know that the Interreg Northwest Europe program puts an accent on transnational cooperation. So in these terms, it is very, very important to identify and describe the profile of territories where your project will intervene. So would it be in rural areas, would it be in urban areas, and so on and so forth. And the last point, which is also very important, is that your project should not be a standalone initiative. It should be embedded in an overall strategic framework. For instance, this strategic framework could be a European strategy. If you're active in social innovation or in social economy, you could maybe rely on the social economy action plan that has been put in place by the European Commission in 2021 or something similar. So let's go to point number 2, which is a good project contributes to program objectives. So I will not dive into this topic because, as already presented by my colleagues previously, Alexandre and Sarine, we're having 5 priorities, and we're having within these 5 priorities specific objectives. So at the beginning, when you're trying to set up your project, of course, you will have a project objective. And this project objective has, of course, to contribute to one of the specific objectives that have been previously mentioned. Of course, you have to keep in consideration all the challenges and opportunities that you would like to tackle with your project, and these have to fit in specific objective. Third point is that a good project has measurable results. So what does that mean? At the beginning, when you're setting up your project, you're defining your project outputs, you're defining your project results, and so on and so forth. While doing so, please try to be as clear as possible. Why? Because all these project outputs and project results have to be measurable afterwards. We have to be able to measure them, to measure your success after the project ends. So try to be as clear as possible. And of course, all this has to fit into the program indicator framework. So far this has been maybe a bit theoretical. So now we'll pass to a video that has been produced by one of our projects. So let's have a look together.
As you might know, worldwide we use tons of raw materials, and they are running out. But we're unaware of the fact that we waste a lot of it too, just by letting water flow out of our sinks and flushing our toilets. That water, for example, is full of toilet paper, which can be turned into a valuable circular resource. The Interreg WOW project wants to start a transition where we reuse raw materials in sewage to make valuable bioproducts. From the sewage, we can subtract PHA to make bioplastics that are biodegradable, which, for instance, could be used in the agricultural sector. Also, we're able to produce lipids to create biofuels, so we can move our cars and trucks in a cleaner way. The cellulose in our toilet paper can, for instance, be used to make biochar. This valuable resource can remove medicinal residues from our sewage. So, thanks to our circular approach, raw materials will be reused and no more money will be wasted. Are you inspired by using raw materials from sewage and like to know more about the Interreg WOW project? Please visit us.
5, 4, 3, 2.
I hope the video was interesting, and maybe just to give you a short example regarding this point. So let's say you are active in social innovation, and you are setting up a project, and just let's take a small example. At the end of your project, you want to have 100 needs employed. Needs means people that are not employed, not in education, or not in training. So as said, at the end of your project, you aim that 100 needs are employed at the end of your project. You want them to be independent. So this, for instance, is something that could be measured. So at the end of your project, we will be able to measure your success if indeed these 100 people are employed. Now let's go to the fourth point. A good project embeds transnational cooperation at its core. As it has already been mentioned by my colleagues, transnational cooperation is at the core of all our projects. So an intrinsic need for transnational cooperation to achieve project results must be demonstrated. So in other words, you have to stress on this aspect. You have to explain the added value of your project within the cooperation with your partners. You have to say, okay, we are working on this project because this adds value to the Northwest European territories. And also it is very, very important that this approach, you have to compare it with the regional, with the national level, saying that, okay, we are doing this project on a transnational level because it adds value. So try always to compare it and to stress the importance of this added value. The fifth point is related to existing knowledge and to go beyond existing approaches. So what does it mean concretely? To be honest, we are not expecting from our projects to reinvent the wheel. I mean, let's be honest. What we expect from our project is to capitalize on existing knowledge, on existing works, on existing projects, and so on and so forth. This is the main objective. So what could it be? It is very important to stress that a good project is also innovative and ensures that identified challenges and opportunities are addressed with novel or new or adapted approaches, as it has been said previously. So to make it maybe short, a good project is aware of recent developments and results achieved in the thematic field concerned and builds on these in a meaningful manner. So maybe to give you an example, we had a project that was involved in, let's be spontaneous now and say that a project has been involved in social housing. And they have been very, very successful during their implementation, and they have achieved wonderful results, and so on and so forth. So with the next program, maybe the same project, same partners or another partners that have been inspired by this project could build up on the results that have been already present, but with a new approach, with something new, with new ideas, and so on and so forth. So let's go to the sixth point. And I know at this time you might be like looking like my friend on the PowerPoint on me and saying, oh my God, when will this end? But please stay strong. We are in the halftime, so just a few more points. So let's go. The sixth point is related to a strong partnership structure. So we are having 4 categories, actually. We are having government and public organizations. We are having industry and businesses, research academia, and civil society organizations. It is important to stress that not all groups that have been mentioned in this PowerPoint slide have to be involved in your project. Why? Because it depends on your project idea. It depends on your project output, the change you want to achieve with your project. So you can have, for instance, a project that is involved in smart lighting systems, setting up public lighting, smart public lighting. What does it mean? It means to change the level of lighting in a city, installing LED lights. So this partnership could, for instance, be composed of the cities that are involved that would like to install these types of lights in their cities, well, in their streets, to be more precise. This partnership could be also composed by research institutes and universities who will eventually do the monitoring and the environmental impact of these lights. This partnership could also be composed and should be composed by let's say, enterprises that are producing this new technology, sensors to measure it, and so on and so forth. And of course, civil society organizations, meaning people that are living in those cities in order to give their opinion about this equipment and how it will influence their everyday life. This would be, for instance, one example regarding a strong partnership. And of course, all partners should be involved meaningfully in every project. Some partners will have, how to say it, a bigger role. Some partners will have a smaller role, but all have to be involved in the project implementation. And of course, when you're setting up your project partnership, you have to keep in consideration and keep in mind partners that are having the necessary skills, that are having the necessary expertise in the given field, and so on and so forth. Number 7. A good project makes a lasting change and plans its long-term effects. So what does it mean precisely? In one word, I would summarize it as looking into the future. So when your project ends, it's not the end of the world, right? So you have to continue, you have to look further. So you have to know that once you're starting to set up your project, once you start up setting up your project, defining your project outputs, your project results, you have to look further and see what can be achieved after. So what we expect from our project is that they implement tangible strategies, solutions, and concepts. And then afterwards, projects should plan for delivering specific transnational products, services, process, solutions, strategies, and so on and so forth. So applicants must therefore be clear on what change they want to achieve with their project, who will they target, and who will benefit from these activities. And of course, compared maybe to the previous program where we had a long-term work package, in this program, all these long-term activities should be embedded in the work plan. So we will not have a specific work package dedicated to long-term, but you have to implement these activities within the existing or the foreseen work packages. So as I mentioned previously, the example with smart lighting and the LED lights that have been installed in several cities. So after the project ends, the municipalities that have been involved in the project implementation, they will for sure continue their collaboration with the enterprises that have been also part of the project in order to continue the collaboration, in order to ensure that the technical support will be there, and so on and so forth. Number 8, a good project communicates its project activities and results. What does it mean? Well, in short, for me, it means to be loud. To me, to be loud means to communicate about your project, to set up a communication strategy where you will define your activities related to your communication. It would be also nice to have a communication manager who would take over this responsibility. And of course, when you are doing so, it is expected from you to respect some program rules. So when I say being loud, it means to talk about your project, to present your project, to be, for instance, very active on social medias, to update regularly your web page. And what is very, very interesting for me, and I love to hear from my projects, is when there is a national conference or a European conference or something similar, they are not only attending it, but they are also presenting the project. So they are making it visible, they are talking about it, and it also ensures long-term effects. So just be loud and talk about your project, present it. And the last slide, finally, right? So the last one is regarding risk management. Okay, the last one is a bit serious, but as said, it's the last one. So a good project manages risks. So before maybe diving into this topic, I'm going to tell you a short story. So I live in France, in Lille. And before I leave my apartment to go to my work, I usually check the weather. Because sometimes it might be sunny, in the afternoon it might be cloudy and then rainy and so on and so forth. So in any case, I check the weather forecast. And then I put a small umbrella in my bag, because sometimes when they are around cloudy, when they announce cloudy weather, it might be rainy. So I just put a small umbrella in my bag and then I go to work. And then in the afternoon, well, it starts raining. But, you know, I take out my umbrella and like a lady, I walk home. So what we expect from projects is to have a plan B when you're implementing your project. What does it mean? It means to be ready for the storm. It means to be ready for the rain. So you have to identify 3 risks at the beginning of your project that might influence, let's say it like this, the implementation process of your project. So you have to identify them in the beginning in order to be able to manage them throughout the process of the implementation of your project. So that's why I'm telling you the story about the umbrella. Once the storm arrives, once you have those risks that appear during the implementation process of your project, you will have this umbrella to protect you, protect yourself. You will be able to respond to these risks. And these risks might be, I don't know, a partner dropout, a partner who doesn't want to continue with the project and just drops out. So you have to be ready to either find a new partner or to talk with your partnership and take over the activities and the budget and then continue with the implementation of your project. Or it might be also that, let's think, oh yeah, you're maybe working with equipment and you're waiting the delivery of a equipment which is very important for the implementation of your project. But suddenly your provider calls you and says, okay, we will have a delay of 6 months. So what are you going to do? Maybe you could have foreseen to do other activities in the meantime or something similar. So just be prepared and have your umbrella in your bag ready. So at this point, I will finalize my presentation and I will show you a very funny picture, which is my friend Nora, because Nora is very, very happy that I'm at the end of my presentation, and I'm happy as well. And to be honest, I would like to continue, but my colleague Perrine, she's giving me like this special look saying that I really have to finalize here, otherwise I will get in trouble afterwards. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Irma, for a very illustrative presentation. We have a bit of time for questions. What is the reaction, Peter?
Okay, so why don't we start with one that seems to be on a lot of people's mind again, so it's not specifically related to what we just discussed, but again, on everybody's mind, about finding partners. Will we have, for example, this one's coming from somebody, will we have specific online networking events, for example, online, where participants can present their project ideas and find partners? There used to be these types of events, and I think with the other periods, and this is what the person mentioned, but what about now?
All right, what about networking events? As you all know, we are in this COVID period, hopefully towards the end, but this has changed a little bit. Irma, do you want to say a few words about networking possibilities?
What I can say so far is that we are having an online community created on our official webpage, where applicants and those who are interested to share their ideas, to find partners and so on and so forth, can register and share their ideas and potentially find some new partners. Regarding online events, maybe we might organize them in the future. But I've been informed that there will be a physical meeting in May in Belgium, where we will present our program, and their participants could come and attend the meeting. But further events will be, of course, will be published on our official webpage, and then stay tuned and follow us there.
Absolutely, Irma. We are going to give some more detail about networking opportunities, be there event, online. Vinicius and Alexandre will be there in a few minutes, so stay with us until the end, and possible physical networking opportunities with events in different regions of Northwest Europe. Peter, anything else?
Yes, so in terms of what makes a good project, can you please explain what makes a project genuinely transnational? So maybe illustrating from examples from previous projects, but what do we mean when we talk about a transnational project?
What does transnational mean, Irma, really?
Well,
for us concretely.
Well, transnational means that you have, let's illustrate it, that you're having like a number of partners coming from different regions from Northwest Europe, and they are tackling together common challenges, opportunities, and they're having a common understanding of what kind of project results they want to achieve. So in short, this I would define as transnational cooperation, working together in order to achieve a common goal.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Irma. I think we are going to stop here for questions. But thanks again, and the PowerPoint is going to be available on the website after this event. All right, So we've highlighted the characteristic of the ideal projects, the 9 of them, if you've paid attention. But now you will need to know what to do to submit your project if you have one in the pipeline.